To understand Amish cooking, one must first understand the Amish. The Amish are a group of traditionalist Christian church fellowships with Swiss Anabaptist origins. Their history is one of persecution and migration, a search for a place where they could practice their faith freely and live apart from the temptations and influences of the modern world. This desire for separation is a key tenet of their faith, and it is the primary reason they shun many modern technologies, including public grid electricity. This is not a blanket rejection of all technology. The Amish are a pragmatic people, and they will adopt certain technologies if they believe they can do so without compromising their core values of family, community, and humanity. However, the connection to the public power grid is seen as a direct link to the outside world, a wire to the world that could bring with it the distractions of television, the internet, and a consumerist culture that is at odds with their emphasis on a plain life. This decision to live without public electricity has a profound impact on their daily lives, and nowhere is this more evident than in the kitchen. Without refrigeration, the Amish have had to rely on and perfect the food preservation methods of their ancestors. This is not seen as a hardship, but rather as a natural part of a life lived in harmony with the seasons. The year is marked by a cycle of planting, growing, harvesting, and preserving. The fall is a particularly busy time, as the bounty of the garden is canned, pickled, and stored away for the winter months. It is also the time for butchering, when hogs and cattle are processed and their meat preserved to feed the family through the coming year. This self-sufficiency is a cornerstone of Amish life. They are skilled farmers and gardeners, and they take great pride in their ability to provide for their families from their own land. This connection to the source of their food fosters a deep respect for the animals they raise and the crops they grow. Nothing is wasted. Every part of an animal is used, and every vegetable is either eaten fresh or preserved for later. This resourcefulness is not just a matter of frugality. It is a moral and spiritual principle. The Amish community also plays a vital role in their food system. Large tasks like butchering are often communal events, with families coming together to share the work. This spirit of cooperation strengthens the bonds of the community and ensures that everyone has enough to eat. The sharing of food is a central part of Amish social life, from the simple act of bringing a meal to a sick neighbor to the elaborate feasts that accompany weddings and other celebrations. The Amish kitchen is a world away from the sleek, minimalist kitchens of modern design magazines. It is a large, open, and often bustling space, designed for function and efficiency rather than for show. It is the true heart of the Amish home, a place where the family gathers, where children learn the skills of their parents, and where the hard work of feeding a family is a constant, rhythmic activity. The dominant feature of many Amish kitchens is the wood-burning cook stove. This is not just an appliance. It is the central nervous system of the kitchen, providing heat for cooking, warmth for the home, and hot water for washing. The Amish cook becomes intimately familiar with the quirks and personality of her stove, learning to regulate its temperature with a skill that is both an art and a science. The stovetop is a large, flat surface that can accommodate multiple pots and pans at once, allowing for the preparation of the large meals needed to feed a large Amish family. The oven is used for baking the bread, pies, and cakes for which the Amish are so famous. Without electric appliances, the Amish kitchen is filled with an array of hand-cranked and manual tools. There are meat grinders that clamp to the edge of a table, apple peelers that can core and slice an apple in a matter of seconds, and butter churns that turn fresh cream into golden butter. These tools are built to last, passed down from generation to generation, and they are a testament to a time when quality and durability were valued over convenience and disposability. The pantry, or buttery, is another essential feature of the Amish kitchen. It is often a large, cool, and dark room, sometimes located in the basement, where the preserved foods are stored. The shelves are lined with a jewel-like array of glass jars, filled with the vibrant colors of canned vegetables, fruits, and meats. There are crocks of pickles and sauerkraut, bags of dried beans and grains, and perhaps a wheel of homemade cheese. This well-stocked pantry is a source of great pride and security for the Amish family, a tangible symbol of their hard work and a guarantee that they will eat well no matter what the season. The absence of a refrigeration is compensated for by a variety of ingenious solutions. Many Amish homes have a summer kitchen, a separate building or room where the heat-producing activities of canning and cooking can be done during the hot summer months, keeping the main house cool. For short-term storage of perishable items like milk, butter, and eggs, the Amish use a spring house, a small stone building constructed over a cold spring. The cool, flowing water keeps the interior of the spring house at a consistently low temperature, acting as a natural refrigerator. In colder climates, a simple ice box may be used, with blocks of ice harvested from a frozen pond in the winter and stored in an insulated ice house. The Amish kitchen is a place of sensory richness. It is the smell of wood smoke and freshly baked bread, the sound of a hand-cranked mixer, and the gentle hiss of a pressure canner. The sight of a colorful array of fresh vegetables on a wooden cutting board. It is a place where food is not just consumed, but is deeply understood and respected. It is a place where the connection to the land, the hands that work it, and the mouths that are fed is a tangible and cherished reality. For the Amish, the annual butchering of livestock, typically hogs and beef cattle in the late fall or early winter, is a crucial event. It is a time of intense communal labor that will stock the pantry with meat for the entire year. With no large freezers to simply wrap and store the cuts of meat, the Amish rely on a sophisticated and multifaceted approach to preservation. These methods, honed over centuries, are designed to remove moisture, inhibit the growth of harmful bacteria, and create a shelf-stable product that is both safe to eat and delicious. The primary methods employed are curing with salt, canning under pressure, smoking, and drying. Often, a combination of these techniques is used to achieve the desired result. Salt is the cornerstone of traditional meat preservation, a mineral so valuable in ancient times that it was used as currency. Its preservative power lies in its ability to draw moisture out of the meat and out of the cells of any bacteria present, effectively killing them or rendering them dormant. The Amish are masters of salt curing, using it to transform fresh pork and beef into a variety of preserved meats that will last for months in a cool, dark pantry. There are two primary methods of salt curing: dry curing and brine curing, also known as pickling or wet curing. This is the simpler of the two methods, and it is often used for cuts of meat that are relatively thin, such as bacon, or for cuts that will be smoked later, like hams. The process involves creating a curing mixture, which is essentially a rub that is applied to the surface of the meat. The basic ingredients of a dry cure are salt and sugar. Salt is the primary preservative, while sugar adds flavor, helps to mellow the harshness of the salt, and also contributes to the preservation process by binding with water molecules. A typical Amish dry cure recipe might include a ratio of 8 pounds of salt to 2 pounds of brown sugar. To this base, other spices are often added for flavor, such as black pepper, red pepper flakes, or a proprietary blend of curing spices. For cured meats that will be stored for a long time, a curing salt containing sodium nitrite and/or sodium nitrite is often used. These ingredients, known as Prague Powder No. 1 and Prague Powder No. 2, are a more modern addition to the ancient practice of curing, but they have been widely adopted by the Amish for their effectiveness in preventing the growth of Clostridium botulinum, the bacteria that causes botulism. The curing process is a patient one. The meat is thoroughly rubbed with the curing mixture, ensuring that every surface and crevice is covered. It is then placed in a wooden box or a stone crock and stored in a cool, dark place, such as a cellar or a spring house. Every few days, the meat is turned and any liquid that has been drawn out is drained away. The meat is then rubbed with more of the curing mixture. This process, known as overhauling, ensures that the cure penetrates the meat evenly. Depending on the size and thickness of the cut, the curing process can take several weeks. Once the curing is complete, the excess salt is washed off and the meat is allowed to dry and age for a period before it is ready to be eaten or smoked. Brine curing involves immersing the meat in a solution of salt, water, sugar, and spices. This method is often used for larger, thicker cuts of meat, such as hams and briskets, as the brine can penetrate the meat more evenly than a dry cure. The first step in brine curing is to create the brine. A common Amish method for testing the salt concentration of a brine is to float a fresh egg or a potato in it. If the egg or potato floats, the brine is salty enough. As with dry curing, sugar is added to balance the saltiness and add flavor, and spices such as bay leaves, peppercorns, cloves, and allspice are often included. Curing salts are also used in brining for the same reasons they are used in dry curing. The meat is placed in a large crock and the cooled brine is poured over it until it is completely submerged. A weight is placed on top of the meat to keep it from floating. The crock is then covered and stored in a cool place. The meat is left to cure in the brine for a period of time that is determined by the weight of the meat. A general rule of thumb is to cure the meat for a certain number of days per pound. Periodically, the meat is turned in the brine to ensure even curing. After the curing period is over, the meat is removed from the brine, washed thoroughly, and often soaked in fresh water for a period of time to remove some of the excess salt from the surface. It is then dried before it is ready for cooking or smoking. These salt-cured meats are intensely flavorful and have a firm, dense texture. They are a staple of the Amish diet, providing a ready source of protein throughout the year. A salt-cured ham hanging in the pantry is a welcome sight in the middle of winter, a promise of hearty meals to come. While curing is an ancient technique, canning is a relatively modern one, dating back to the early 19th century. However, it was quickly adopted by the Amish and other rural people as a safe and effective way to preserve a wide variety of foods, including meat. Canning allows the Amish to store meat in a form that is ready to be used in a multitude of recipes, from soups and stews to meat pies and simple meals of meat and gravy over potatoes or bread. The key to safely canning meat is the use of a pressure canner. Meat is a low-acid food, which means it can support the growth of Clostridium botulinum spores, which can cause the deadly illness of botulism. These spores can survive boiling water temperatures, so the water bath canning method, which is used for high-acid foods like fruits and pickles, is not safe for canning meat. A pressure canner is a heavy-duty pot with a locking lid and a pressure gauge. It works by trapping steam, which increases the pressure inside the canner and raises the temperature of the boiling water to a point that is high enough, typically 240 to 250 degrees Fahrenheit or 115 to 121 degrees Celsius, to kill botulism spores. The process of canning meat is a precise and methodical one. The meat, which can be beef, pork, venison, or poultry, is first prepared by cutting it into cubes or grinding it. It can be either hot-packed, browned, or partially cooked before being packed into jars, or raw-packed, packed into jars raw. The hot-pack method is often preferred for meat, as it helps to remove some of the air from the meat, resulting in a better quality product. The prepared meat is packed into clean, hot grass canning jars, leaving a 1-inch headspace at the top. Hot broth, water, or tomato juice is then added to the jars, again leaving a 1-inch headspace. It is crucial to remove any air bubbles from the jars by running a non-metallic spatula around the inside. The rims of the jars are then wiped clean to ensure a good seal, and the 2-piece canning lids are applied. The jars are then placed on a rack in the pressure canner, which has a few inches of simmering water in the bottom. The lid of the canner is locked in place and the heat is turned up. The canner is allowed to vent a steady stream of steam for a set amount of time, usually 10 minutes, to ensure that all the air has been forced out. The vent is then closed and the pressure is allowed to build to the level recommended for the specific recipe and altitude. The processing time for canned meat is long, often 75 to 90 minutes, depending on the size of the jars. It is crucial to maintain a constant pressure during the entire processing time. Once the time is up, the heat is turned off and the canner is allowed to cool down naturally until the pressure returns to zero. The jars are then carefully removed and left to cool on a towel, undisturbed for 12 to 24 hours. As the jars cool, a vacuum is created inside, which pulls the lid down and creates an airtight seal. The sound of the lids pinging as they seal is a satisfying one for any canner, a sign of a job well done. Once the jars are completely cool, the seals are checked. If the lid is firm and does not flex when pressed, the jar is sealed and can be stored in a cool, dark place for up to a year or even longer. Canned meat is an incredibly versatile product. It can be quickly heated and served as a simple meal, or it can be added to a wide variety of dishes, saving a great deal of time on a busy day. For the Amish, a pantry lined with jars of home canned beef and pork is a form of wealth, a tangible measure of their foresight and hard work. Smoking is one of the oldest food preservation methods known to humanity, and it is one that the Amish have perfected. For the Amish, smoking is not just about preserving the meat, it is also about adding a deep, complex, and savory flavor that is highly prized. The smokehouse is a common feature on an Amish farm, a small, windowless building where hams, bacon, and sausages are slowly transformed by the fragrant smoke of a smoldering fire. The preservative effect of smoking comes from a combination of factors. The process of smoking dehydrates the surface of the meat, making it less hospitable to bacteria. The smoke itself contains a number of chemical compounds, such as formaldehyde and phenols, which have antimicrobial and antioxidant properties. The heat of the smoking process can also help to kill bacteria. There are two main methods of smoking: cold smoking and hot smoking. This is the method most often used by the Amish for long-term preservation. In cold smoking, the meat is not cooked, but rather is slowly infused with smoke at a low temperature, typically below 85 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 degrees. The fire is built in a separate chamber from the smokehouse, and the smoke is piped into the smokehouse. This allows the smoke to cool before it reaches the meat. Before it is smoked, the meat is almost always cured first. The curing process removes much of the moisture from the meat and provides the primary preservative effect. The smoking process then adds another layer of protection and a great deal of flavor. Hams, bacon, and sausages are typically cold smoked. The smoking process can be a long one, lasting for several days or even weeks. The meat is hung in the smokehouse and is exposed to a continuous, gentle stream of smoke. The result is a dense, flavorful, and very well-preserved piece of meat that can be stored for a long time without refrigeration. Hot smoking is done at a higher temperature, typically between 165 degrees Fahrenheit and 185 degrees Fahrenheit. At this temperature, the meat is both smoked and cooked at the same time. Hot smoking is used for foods that will be eaten relatively soon, such as some types of sausage and poultry. While hot smoking does have some preservative effect, it is not as effective for long-term storage as cold smoking. The choice of wood used for smoking is very important, as it has a significant impact on the final flavor of the meat. The Amish have their own preferences, which are often based on the types of trees that are common in their area. Hardwoods such as hickory, apple, cherry, and maple are popular choices. Each type of wood imparts its own unique flavor profile, from the strong, pungent flavor of hickory to the sweet, mild flavor of applewood. The smokehouse itself is a simple but effective structure. It is typically a small, tightly constructed building with a dirt floor. The meat is hung from racks near the ceiling. There is a vent in the roof to allow for some air circulation, but it is designed to keep the smoke in. The management of the fire is a skill that is passed down through the generations. The fire must be kept smoldering, never bursting into flame, to produce a cool, dense smoke. The smoked meats that come out of the Amish smokehouse are true culinary treasures. The smoky, salty flavor of a country ham is the centerpiece of many a festive meals, and a side of home-smoked bacon fried crisp is a breakfast favorite. These are flavors that cannot be replicated by commercial mass-produced products. They are the flavors of time, of patience, and of a deep connection to the traditions of the past. Drying is another ancient method of food preservation that is still used by the Amish. The principle is simple. By removing most of the water from the meat, you create an environment where bacteria, yeast, and mold cannot grow. The most common form of dried meat in the Amish tradition is dried beef, also known as chipped beef. The process of making dried beef begins with a lean cut of beef, such as a round roast. The meat is first cured in a manner similar to the way a ham is cured, using a mixture of salt, sugar, and curing salts. The curing process can take several weeks, during which the meat is turned regularly. Once the meat is cured, it is washed and dried, and then it is hung to air dry in a cool, dry, and well-ventilated place. This could be a smokehouse, a dry attic, or a special drying room. The drying process can take several weeks or even months, depending on the humidity and air circulation. The meat is left to hang until it is very hard and dry. To use the dried beef, it must be sliced very thin. The Amish have special tools for this, or they will take it to a local butcher who has a slicer. The paper-thin slices of dried beef are then used to make a classic Amish dish, creamed chipped beef on toast, known locally as SOS. This hearty and savory dish is made by creating a simple white sauce and then adding the shredded or chipped dried beef. The salty, intensely beefy flavor of the dried beef infuses the creamy sauce, creating a comforting and satisfying meal that is often served for breakfast or a light supper. Another form of dried meat is jerky.